All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Isaiah chapter 7, verse 23 to chapter 8, verse 12. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody, bow your heads. Father, thank you for gathering us up on this Bible study to continue through Isaiah, to try to get through more context as far as what a prophecy will be, whether it be New Testament, Old Testament. Um, And also, before we get started, thank you for making sure Matt is on this Bible study as well to make sure we actually get the context directly so we don't take certain things, we don't replace certain prophecies with this or certain prophecy with that, that we get it right. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. So last time what we had gotten into, we finished up chapter 6 first and foremost, where we were going into that prophecy of the old time. And then after that, we had gotten into chapter 7, where, well, not even the old time, but I would say at the time of Christ. Let me rephrase that. And then the last part in chapter 7, we started going even further into it, where we had talked about the virgin birth. We had also spoken about it was going to be of the house of David. We had also spoken about that there was going to be a lot of enemies around. And so we saw the context of that prophecy was not just talking about the virgin birth of itself, but the whole situation that the children of Israel, and more specifically of the lineage of David, was dealing with and how they were going to get past it. And that was the bottom line of it. So, what we ended up finishing with was in verse 9, where it pointed out that the head of Ephraim, Samaria, and how they were not going to be doing well, they were not going to be successful if they continue, if the children of Israel, or actually, I should say the children of David, believed and walked faithfully. Obviously, that comes as a conditional statement. So today, we'll be continuing on. Oh, no. Hey, what am I talking about? Wrong section. We did do 10 to 22, didn't we?
Yes,
Y'all should have,
yes, yes.
I don't know, y'all should have corrected me on that. I went through the whole thing just to find out I'm on the wrong section.
I was just about to, but you stopped yourself.
See? All right, there we go. So about the virgin birth. Okay, so about asking for a sign. So God was telling Ahaz to ask for a sign to show that the surrounding enemies of Ephraim and them are not going to be successful. And Ahaz refused, claiming he's not going to tempt the Lord in the midst of him saying no. But you're literally tempting the Lord by doing so. So God brings up then about the fact that the virgin will be with child. Mary was born, she was a virgin. Then about how it pointed about the conception, that he was going to be a son, but he was going to be called Emmanuel. And so, as we already talked about, the translation of Emmanuel is literally God with us. So, even in the prophesied essence of what was going to happen in the future, it literally had Jesus being called God with us. And so, we had all those comparisons. And even about the surrounding, as it pointed out in 14, about the two kings, that they're not going to be there. And if we look at the time of Christ, the Roman Empire had already taken over. Those two kings that were there at the beginning of Assyria and the king of Israel, they were gone at the time. So we literally had the fulfillment shown to be the time of Christ. And now, oh, and now today, we're going to get into, let me go ahead and switch it over, verse 23, as we continue from that point, what we were discussing. I'll go ahead and switch it. So our first person can read. I can't talk. And go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right. I'll read Isaiah chapter 7, verses 23 to chapter 8, verse 2. I'll give it a couple seconds. Verse 23. And it shall come to pass in that day that every place shall be, that every place shall be, where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings. It shall even be for briers and thorns. With arrows and with bows shall men come thither, because all the land shall become briers and thorns. And on all hills that shall be digged with the mattock, there shall not come thither the fear of briers and thorns, but it shall be for the sending forth of oxen, and for the treading of lesser cattle. Moreover, the Lord said unto me, take heed thee a great roll, and write in it a man's pen concerning. Let me double check this name's pronunciation. Maher Shalal Has Hasbaz. That's a long name. Maher, or not Maher. Maher Shalal Hasbaz. Wow. And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record Uriah the priest, and Zechariah the son of Yeberachiah. Let me double check that though. Yeb Yeb Yeberechiah. Yebe. These names is gonna give me
Yeah,
Yeberechiah. Yeah.
Barakia.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got Yeb on the phonetic.
yeah, Yeb, Yeb,
Yebe
Barakia.
Yeberechiah. There we go. Woo, that name. I hope we don't have to keep reading that name. That name's gonna keep throwing me off. Let me go back to chapter 7, verses 23 to 25. Start off, and it shall come to pass in that day that every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings. It's funny how I did that because it. I think to get it right, I gotta flip it. So in this particular day, he's talking about, and it come to pass in this day, and in this day, there's the location is where there's 1,000 vines and there's 1,000 silverlings, and
Nope.
silverlings is just.
Why do you assume it's talking about location? Does where only talk about location? Or can it talk about circumstance?
In this one, why would it be circumstance?
Well, look at what it's saying.
And it shall come to pass in that day that every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings.
And every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines. There's a comma there, right?
Right.
So did it say, and every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines? Or did it say, and every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings? It shall be for briers and thorns.
Well, the second part, because it's
Exactly.
saying that
It
every
can't
place
be a
shall.
location contextually because of the comma. Do you know what a brier and a thorn is?
Well, thorn is just the bushes, the sharp bushes, the prickly bushes.
Exactly.
Now let me go to Breer's, the original sense of prickling, a thorn. Oh, so they're the. Looks like they're the same thing.
Exactly. So, what are vines?
The vines grow the grapes.
Yes. This one should have been easier for you. The places where there were thousands of vines and silverlings. What are silverlings?
The money, just a
Okay.
silver coin, silver currency.
Is that what it said when you looked at the,
Strong
or
silver
you
from
just
its
assuming because
pale
of
color.
silver?
No, silver from its pale color, by implication, money.
Good. Just I don't have the time to look it up right now because I'm driving. So
Yeah, the connections go in and
silverlings.
out too.
All right, so All right, so the place of great find, abundance of silver,
Man, you're
is
breaking
going to
up
be
bad, brother.
briars and thorns. Why would that be meaning location? Oh, why would that
You're
mean
breaking up at.
location? If you're talking about, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good now.
How about now? Okay.
You're good.
In the place where there were 1,000 vines, a lot of abundance, and 1,000 silverlings, a lot of abundance, it shall be thorns and wasteland. Why would that be talking about location? How could that be talking about location?
Oh, that's how I was reading it. Where
No,
it
no,
brought up
I
where
understand
there
what you
were a
did,
thousand
but
vines.
what I'm saying, you're not looking at the context. How can that be possible? It's not a possibility, Charles. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So verse 23 is just saying for every place that is going to be in this area, or just every place is going to be where it used
Where
to
did
be
it say
vines
area?
and
There you go.
no, I took it
Yes.
back. So every place that used to have the vines and used to have the money, they're going to be just the prickling thorns. This is going to be wasted thorned area, wasted land with thorns and prickly stuff.
Yes. But does that sound literal or does that sound like a metaphor for something?
That sounds like a metaphor for the good land is now bad land.
There you go. That's your answer.
Yeah, so good land is bad land for verse 23 then.
But do you understand how you slipped up?
No.
You slipped up because you saw the word where and only thought of it as location instead of looking at all the possibilities. You stuck too much to one and you didn't look at the rest of the context because you should have been able to see it easily if you would have looked at what it was saying rather than the distinct words it's using. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying.
And Thomas, do you understand how he got to that point? Where the
Yep,
problem was? All
yep.
right. All right, then go ahead and continue, Charles.
Now, next, with arrows and with bows shall men come thither, because all the land shall become briers and thorns. So we already got that point of the land being waste. When you're talking about men with arrows and bows, these are just men of war, men ready to battle, ready to fight. They're coming to this wasteful land.
Well, yes and no. There's two ways to look at that. What did it say at first? Read that aloud one more time.
First said, with arrows and with bows shall men come thither.
So they're coming this way with arrows and bows. And then continue.
Because all the land shall become briers and thorns.
So they're coming this way with arrows and thorns because there's nothing left. How does that correlate?
Um, Good question. Because we already talked about how it wasn't a land like that before. It was a land of good, but now it's bad. So how does it correlate with that? That's a good question.
Oh, it should be straightforward. Think about impact, cause and effect. If the land is wasteland, or in other words, not fruitful, then there'd be an impact of that. Let me give the opportunity to Thomas first. Thomas, what would it mean by bringing that up? What would be the connection? Why would people be bringing
They're
arrows and
on
bows?
they're on guard. They feel like they're in dangerous territory now that there is like bristles and all that stuff. It's a wasteland. You gotta kind of defend yourself. So they're going in on guard.
Well, you didn't take the context into account. You're close, but it said people coming there, from other places, not people that are already there.
Right, they're coming to the location. They're coming with their bow and arrows because they're on guard. Like they're stepping into a wasteland territory where they feel like they gotta defend themselves just in case.
No, but good try.
All right.
Why would somebody go to a wasteland if they're afraid? Why not just stay away from it and defend your own country? What's the benefit of going to there? You're not being defensive if you're attacking, right? If you're
Right.
going out of your way to attack somebody, you're not defending yourself. You're attacking them.
I see what you're saying.
All right. But you are close to the second option. So, first option is by having nothing there but wasteland, they're at a weak point. Charles, you brought that up. Not in the same words, but in the concept. Because they're weak, the people are coming in thinking they could take it over. All right. That is first option. Second option is this. The people are coming with bows and arrows because since it's a wasteland and the people don't have anything there, they're turning to other countries trying to sneak in or do other things. So they're taking out the enemy before the enemy comes in. That's the part that you were missing, Thomas. Does that make sense?
So the
Yep.
second one is to take out the enemies before they see anything coming, before they realize it.
Yeah, because
Simplify the first one.
they have. So the first one is they don't have anything, so they're probably weakened. Oh, well, if Israel's weakened, we could take them over and gain the land. They'll be
Got it.
easier to conquer. Second
Easy
one
pickings.
is,
Got it.
yeah, exactly. So first one, easy pickings. Second one, well, they don't have anything at their location. So what if they start coming to our location? Let's take them out before they do.
Got
All
it.
right. And that's how Thomas is connected. So you see how like that part made the difference, Thomas? Do you get why?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Go ahead and continue, Charles.
Not last, but 25. And all the hills, or and all hills that shall be digged with the mattock, there shall not come thither the fear of briers and thorns, but it shall be for the sending forth of oxen and for the treading of lesser cattle. So when it starts off by talking about and all the hills that shall be digged with a mattock, the mattock is the mattock is it's funny to describe this thing. It has a on one side it has like a long end where you can move soil, but you can also dig soil, and on the other end there's a sharp end.
Oh, like a pickaxe.
Yeah, like a pickaxe, but like the farmer's pickaxe, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny that I even remember that. So the farmer's pickaxe is what the mattock is what's going to be used to dig on the hills. Next, after there's a comma there, there shall not come thither the fear of briers and thorns. Okay, so they're not gonna so they're not gonna fear this wasteful land that we've been talking about.
Well, not
But
just
it's
that. I mean, we've been dealing in metaphors, not literals, this whole time, right? So what would that mean? I mean, to even have a mattock, what type of person would you have to be?
you'd have to be a farmer. You're looking to do something with this wasteful land. You're looking to dig something up, soil something, sow something, something.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
In
what
other
tool? What,
words, you're prepared for the work. You're prudent for this specific work. So this can go a couple ways. Either one, it can go as you're literally a farmer and this land's going to be trashed because they're not doing right by God. So for those that have the right tools, they're going to be fine. They're not going to be worried about nothing. But for everybody else, they're going to have to struggle. That's the literal form of it. But talking about metaphorical, it could be a representation of those that aren't prudent in their efforts to follow God. Because in chapter 7, we've been dealing with the end times, right? And even from the time of Christ, we've been talking about prophecies related to that. So if we take that same timeline and concept that's going on, Then we look at the ones that have like built with the matic, or in other words, like the farmer's type of pickaxe. We're talking about somebody who's prudent and prepared, ready to have their fields do well. That would be the one who is prudent, having themselves ready with tools that are ready to do the job. In other words, that could represent the Christians who follow the Bible according in context. They have the Bible, which is the tool to be able to receive and be able to be taken care of in this time of crisis. So they're not going to be worried about any briars or thorns because they have the tool to be able to pick it out. More specifically, as an example, how do you weed out the false Christians in your church, Thomas? Don't forget to unmute. There you go.
You bring the truth to them and see if they're receptive.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you know what the truth is, Charles?
Context in the Bible. Pulling
There
up
you
the right
go.
context in the Bible.
Now,
Now,
how does
with
the
the
Bible describe in the New Testament those that grow up in the church that are false Christians? It brings up the wheat with the tares, right? But what are the tares?
that I don't remember.
All right, Thomas, what are the tares?
I don't recall either.
Tares of the thorns. Same as here. Same depiction. So on one side, it's talking about how even as there will be false Christians who grow up with the real Christians, that in the same token, that they'll be rooted up through the word. That's how you get rid of it. You stand on context, you get the right word, and you do what's right. That's the way you do it. So if we're talking literal, even though it's used metaphorical for the land going bad, if we're talking about a literal situation, it could just be talking about the prudent person who has the right tools. But if we're talking in relevance and reference as a metaphor for the New Testament, we'll be talking about the people who have the word and have the tools to be able to uproot those thorns so they don't have to worry about the thorns and briars. They can just have the fruitfulness of the land. In other words, the Christians growing fruitful and being able to follow correctly and having multitudes of them. Does that make sense, Charles? And
Yes,
Thomas?
Yeah.
All right.
I was about to say too with that prudent point, the last part of that verse, but it shall be for the sending forth of oxen and for the treading of lesser cattle. That would still go to that still sounds like it's going to that prudent point that you were making.
Exactly. Because if you have the briars and the thorns, the cattle can't really get through, can they?
No.
But if you have a tool to clear it out, to clear out all the bad, then they can make it through easily. Good. Go ahead and continue with your explanation into chapter 8.
So with chapter 8, this sounds like, we're getting into another context here. And it starts off with Isaiah saying God told him to take a roll, a great roll. So think of like a tablet, think of something to write on.
You sure we're talking about a new context?
Well, I only got verses 1 and 2. So possibility it could be, how do you say it? Same
Well, you
branch,
said it
different leaf.
looks like. That means there's something to hint that there is. What is the hint you're talking about? That's my question. This is part of getting the
My hint,
context.
my
Yes,
hint is him getting into writing in a role concerning this name that I have to pronounce, and him
that's not
being
a hint.
around him having this the witnesses around him.
That's why you slipped up. You didn't take into account the way it starts. What's the first word it says?
Moreover,
And what does moreover mean? Or how is that used?
in addition to,
Exactly. So if I'm talking to you about the New Testament and then I say, in addition to this, am I starting a whole new context necessarily? Or am I continuing from where I just stated something?
you'd be continuing, but wouldn't it still be a new leaf, same branch, new leaf, or it would just be the
Not
same leaf?
necessarily, because we've had times where it says moreover, when it's talking about the destruction of Israel, and it goes deeper into how much they deserve it. We've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So in situations like that, was it a new context or the same context and just a new detail or new part?
Same.
Exactly. So at this moment, I would say, based on the wording, we have a more likelihood we're dealing with the same overall subject, not a new context, but maybe some new details because of the word moreover. Moreover is I'm continuing more about this, but in a different way or in a new part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, got to look at those little details. Just because there's a great scroll being written, I know we've seen them do new prophecies, but that doesn't guarantee that it is. We got to look at the parts that have to do with all the W's, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the whole nine. All right, go ahead and continue though.
So now we're talking about God telling Isaiah to get this great roll, this great thing to write on, with a man's pen, something to write with. And this thing is going to be concerning this name that I got to go back to the phonetic for. Maher Shalal Hashbaz. Maher Shalal Hashbaz concerning this person. And when he says, I took unto me faithful witnesses to record or to record, bring up Uriah, Zechariah. Yeah, but the that's Zechariah. Oh yeah, Zechariah. Um,
Zechariah.
Zechariah. I did phonetic. So you the
I
and
know, you're fine.
Yebet Rekia. These three, when he talks about taking unto me faithful witnesses, I'm literally taking that as these are people faithful to God that are going to be the witnesses of him writing this down. They're with him while he's writing this stuff down.
Nope. You went too specific. The apostles are witnesses. Are they all witnesses of what's being written? Or just what happened?
Just what happened.
So why would he call them witnesses of what's being written? For you, buddy.
And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record.
Yeah. Think about that for a moment. I took unto me faithful witnesses to record. Well, if you're recording, what are you doing?
You're taking notes. You're writing stuff
Exactly.
down.
Exactly. So are you being a faithful witness of the recording, or is it calling you a faithful witness prior to recording?
Oh, okay. Prior to recording, so yeah, I'm just here. I'm here as well as Isaiah. He's writing his stuff down. I'm writing my stuff down. In other words,
No. What? No. You keep trying to connect something that's not connected. And I took unto me faithful witnesses to record. It doesn't say what their faithful witness is. It doesn't say it's in relevance to the writing. It just says that they're going to record and that they are faithful witnesses. Now, we have many times before.
did you
Where have we
say?
heard
Wait,
the
and now
term
did you
faithful
say?
witness?
Did you
Oh, we
say?
have heard the term faithful witness many times before. What kind of situation or what description of a person, where have we heard faithful witness before?
I don't remember.
All right, Thomas.
Um, wasn't it something Jesus said to? I can't recall. Never mind.
All right. A faithful witness is somebody who follows faithfully. That's what a faithful witness is. Somebody who's not deceptive in actions or in faithfulness. So, in other words, Charles, if you turn away from God, even if you were truly trying to follow at the time, you would not no longer be a faithful witness. Faithful does not just mean honest and true. It also means enduring, staying the course, like a relationship. If a wife cheats on you, is she faithful?
No.
And is that only about dishonesty? Matter of fact, cheating on you, she could be honest with you and be cheating on you, right?
Right.
Is she faithful because she told you she's cheating on you?
No.
Faithful doesn't have anything to do with honesty in that context. It has to do with longevity and staying the course. In the same token here, a faithful witness is a witness who stays the course and remains right with God. And when they give their witness, they're honest. It's all aspects of it. If you're missing one
So,
part, you're not a faithful witness. It's just a
oh, so
terminology for somebody
that's
who is truly following God and has witnessed them and would tell the truth that they did.
oh, that's where I went too specific. 'Cause I thought I said that, but okay, I went too specific. You're right.
Yeah, what did you say in difference? It doesn't have to be word for word because what you
I
said
thought
was
I brought
incorrect.
up I thought I brought up that when I said that they were faithful witnesses, these three were faithful to God. I just said
No,
faithful to God.
what you said was that they'll be faithfully witnessing him writing it down, like they're like a notary. That's how you described it. Was like a notary.
Okay.
It's like they're witnessing him writing it down, but that's not talking about them witnessing at all because it's calling them faithful witnesses that before they even record. So I'm bringing faithful witnesses to record. So they haven't recorded anything yet. I'm bringing them to record their faithful witnesses. That's where you slipped up. You were connecting the two when one is a description of the person's character, the other is the action they're going to do. They're not part of the same action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, Thomas, does that make sense to you too?
Yep.
All right. Now, is there anything else you want to add on that, Charles? Because there is something you should.
Um, I wouldn't know what to add on there.
All right. The part that you would actually no, let me give Thomas a chance. Something you missed to point out, Thomas. You know what he missed in chapter 8?
Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading.
No problem.
Moreover, the Lord said unto me, take thee a great roll. I don't see it.
All right. The part that he forgot to point out is we have a little point of context reference that was given to us here. Zechariah. Isn't he one of the prophets, Charles, that we read, their book of prophets?
Yeah.
We have the time frame of when he was saying his or writing his down, when he was recording. That's the part that you forgot to point out. That we got context on that. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Now then, do you guys have any comments or questions about the first section as we go to the second one? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right, then Thomas, go ahead when you're ready.
Right. I'm reading Isaiah chapter 8, verses 3 through 7. Give it a couple seconds. And I went unto the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Lord to me, call his name Maher Shalal Hashbaz, For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. The Lord spake also unto me again, saying, For as much as a people refuseth, hold on a second, refuseth the water of Shiloh that goes softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's
Shiloah,
son.
not
Which
Shiloh.
one?
Shiloh has no A.
Oh, Shiloah. My bad. I'll
You're
just
good.
do 6 again. For as much as the people refuseth the water of Shiloah that goes softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son. 7. Now therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the water of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, and all his glory, and he shall come up over all his channels, and go over all his banks. God said, if I can't flood the world, I'll hit you with a river.
That was great.
Oh man. All right. 3. So we have Isaiah going into the prophetess, and she's having a child, and his name, and God uh told him to name him Maher Maher Shalal Hashbaz, and
Yep.
then we go into 4. Let me read that one more time before we
Before
go.
we do, look up what his name means. It should be right under the phonetic when it's named.
Okay. Maher Shalal. So it is, and it says, and asking he that booty swift pray, symbolic name of the son of Isaiah,
Wait,
symbolic.
what? No. Right underneath the phonetic, it should say it. Those go more into detail, but the name in and of itself should have the
Oh, right.
right
My bad.
under.
Gotcha. Oh, swift is booty. Speed is prey.
Exactly.
Interesting.
See, anytime you hear God say to call a name of somebody, something, it's always a good idea to look up what the name means because he's saying it for a reason. Look at his name and look at the rest of the context of why,
All right.
and you'll see the connection.
So let me look at that one time. Swift is booty and speedy is prey. And then it
And
goes
you know
into
what
talk.
pray is right there, right?
What you mean, like something they
How's it
hold on.
spell it?
Am I like actual prey, like a lion's prey, for instance?
Yeah. So speedy is prey. Prey has to be fast to get away from the predator. So you're as fast as a prey that's trying to run away from getting caught up from the predator. That's what his name means. Now go
Hold on.
back
So
to
what's
the.
Swift is booty?
You said what?
So what's Swift is booty? What does that mean?
Let me get back into it. That was an 8-3 or 4. There you go. All right. Oh, booty is another term for treasure or for something to be get caught. So like when a pirate takes over another pirate ship, all the gold and treasure and everything that they have, that's booty.
Yeah. Okay.
So in other words, prey or booty, the thing you're trying to go after is quick. So
Gotcha.
like we were talking about how like in order for prey to try to get away, it has to be fast. In order for so swift is booty. Yeah, treasure is always trying to get away. It's also the same concept of like you've seen the Geico commercial where you have the fisherman and he's like, "Oh, you got to be quicker than that."
Yeah, exactly.
That concept of like you have to be fast enough to catch it, or the prey has to be fast enough to get away, or the treasure booty. All right, mind as you go through the context here. It's an interesting note to connect it.
All right, let me read 4 one more time. For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. I'm seeing this in two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So one being the kid is actually crying this out to his mother and father regarding to Damascus and all that, and then the other one is
What? Oh
him.
no, that's
Guess
not.
what I'm?
That's not a
Yeah,
possibility.
yeah. So the second one, let me get to the second one. So the second one
Okay.
is him not even having the knowledge of any of this before after it's happening. Like he's not aware, he's too young for this, like to understand what's going on. I may be looking at this completely
Yeah,
wrong.
the second one. No, no, no. You're right with
Oh,
the second one.
okay,
Before the
okay,
child shall have knowledge to cry, my father, my mother. Well, when does a child cry, my father, my mother? When they're learning their first words, right?
yep,
So before the child is old enough to even know their first words, all this riches are gone.
okay. Just making sure.
Well, and here's the thing, having that name and then having that knowledge, that's the point I was getting at to you. His name is literally that treasure is very quick and prey is
Mm,
very quick. And then before he's even old enough to cry, my mom, my dad, all the treasure that they had is gone in Damascus, gone to Assyria.
that's crazy.
So his
Wow.
name was encapsulating what was going to happen before he was even old enough to really speak. That's why it's a good idea whenever it says his name shall be called or call his name. Whenever it goes out of its way to point that out, the person's name being called something, it's always a good idea to look up the name because the definition of the name is almost always related to what is going to happen in the future. God was naming them after what was going to happen.
That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All
All
right,
right,
so
go ahead and continue.
we jump into 5. Let me read that one time. The Lord spake also unto me again, saying, for as much as this people refuseth the water of, he says, Shiloh,
Yep, Shiloah.
that that goes softly, and rejoice in Rezin and in Remaliah's son. And so we got the Lord speaking again unto Isaiah, and he's talking about the people refusing the water of Shiloh, and hold on, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son. For as much as the people refuse the waters of Shiloah that go softly and rejoice in. So so they're refusing the waters of Shiloah, but instead they're rejoicing in Rezin and Remaliah's son.
Not just that, it goes out of its way to say that the waters go softly. Why would it go out of its way to say that? What's the benefit of,
It's
or what's the point being made?
the waters go softly. It's easy to obtain. It's there for them, but they're
Yeah,
choosing not. They're just refusing that and want to go do other things.
exactly.
So So then we have God, like I said, if he can't flood the whole world, he gonna hit you with a river. So we're going to I done lost my hold on. 7. Therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the water of the river, strong and many, even in the kings of Assyria, and all his glory. and he shall come up over all the channels and go over all his banks. So God just hits him with a river, it overtakes everything. This is crazy.
Hits him with a river?
Now therefore,
Oh,
behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria. You know, up
exactly.
upon them. So when I hear that, I'm thinking like a river that overflows. Is that not it?
Nope.
So it's just using as a metaphor.
Yep.
Oh, as in kind of like an overtaking in this situation.
Well, look at it as it points out. For as much as the people refuseth the water of Shiloah that goes softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Ramaliah's son. Well, who was Rezin king over? Do you remember?
I'm putting my notes real quick. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's on my little notepad. I have two notepads. I didn't bring it. My bad.
All right. It's okay. Go ahead. Back to the. Actually, no. Charles, who was Rezin king over?
Damascus.
Which group?
Damascus.
Exactly.
Resin.
Syria.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who was Ramaliah's son over?
Pekah was over Samaria.
What?
Can you hear me?
Pekah wasn't over Samaria.
Let me go back to the verse. Ramaliah's son's name is Pekah. He was over Samaria.
It wasn't over Samaria. That's not what we
And
read.
the let me go to chapter 7, verse 9. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Ramaliah's son.
Yes, but when we first got the name Pekah, who was he over? It was in the first verse or first verses of the chapter.
Yeah, he's king of Israel, but it's
There
still
we.
this. Yeah, go ahead.
If he's king of Israel, that adds some context to this. We have the king of Israel who's also over Samaria, and we have the king of Syria who's also over Damascus. So the very same people that they were crying out or that were coming against the people of David are the very same people that the children of Israel are trying to turn to instead of choosing the soft, gentle, nice water that God has from in Shiloah. So you're choosing to submit to your enemies rather than submitting to God. That's the point being made here. Does that make sense,
Gotcha.
Thomas and Charles?
Yeah, like so because you chose this, now you about to lay in the freaking bed you laid. It's gonna be too much for him in a sense.
Exactly. Exactly. So when it says, and bringeth upon them the waters of the river, strong and many. All right. Does a river have many waters, or is it one body of water?
It's one body.
Exactly. Going to bring upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria and all his glory, and he shall come up over all his channels and go over all his banks. So even the king of Assyria is going to be going over these areas. So what we're talking about here is more likely metaphorically talking about how the enemies are going to overtake this because you want to serve the enemies. Fine. Have the way you want. You're going to be taken over by them. The second way is the way you were talking about, literal flooding from the river coming over. But out of the two, the first one is the more likely option, though both are possible. Does that make sense, Thomas?
Yep.
Does that make sense, Charles?
Yeah.
All right. Now then, does anybody have any comments or questions about the second section before we go to the final section for today? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right, and go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right, I'll read Isaiah chapter 8, verses 8 to 12. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 8. And he shall pass through Judah, he shall overflow and go over, he shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of thy land, O Emmanuel. Associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces, and give ear, all ye of far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for God is with us. For the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not, a confederacy, to all them to whom this people shall say, a confederacy, neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. So, verse 8, when it talks about passing through Judah, it still sounds like the king of Assyria, he's coming through Judah and he's going to overflow, and he, him and his armies and everything are just going to overflow Judah. I'm thinking of what's that movie reference? Our arrows will block the sun. That's what I'm thinking. Assyria is going to come through Judah. Now, the end of verse 8, the way it ended, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of the land. I've already explained that part, but when it has a comma, then says, "Oh, Emmanuel," that threw me completely off. I'm surprised he even used that word.
Why?
Um, I'm
We
trying
know
to
what it
understand.
means.
Yeah, what it means, Jesus,
But it
God
doesn't
with us.
mean Jesus. It means God
If
with
God,
us.
God with us.
But remember, a virgin shall be with child. And remember, we talked about it before in the earlier parts of chapter 7, how it was correlating back and forth from this current struggle that they're dealing with and the timeline of Christ and what it's going on. Well, when we look at the timeline of Christ, yeah, the Assyrians might be gone, but look at the land of Judah. Look at the whole area. Is it really Jewish run? Or is it run over by everybody around? Is it run over by the enemies?
Caesar. Yeah, I didn't think of who it was ran by.
Exactly.
Caesar runs it. Yeah.
So when we look at it, it's still giving that comparison of their struggle now to the type of lifestyle and situation government wise that's going on at the time of Christ. So of course it would bring up the Emmanuel.
Okay, bring it back up that comparison again. Okay.
Exactly. It makes a point to make that comparison. See, because when it brings it up, what does it say right before it?
And the stretched out, or the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of thy land.
Exactly. It's going to fill all the width of your land. It's going to be covered with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, the Roman Empire is not the land of Israel completely covered by them and the Greeks. It's completely covered by them, even from the beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
And then going into 10 through 12, what is the point he's saying?
You mean 9 to 12? Let's give 9.
No, specifically 10 to 12. I mean, 9's important, but I'm trying to point out a point. Because in 9, he said, and you shall be broken in pieces and give ear, all ye far off countries, and yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. 10 through 12 is a little bit different. It's similar, it's on the same wavelength, but not exactly the same thing. What is 10 through 12 saying?
Let me start with 10. Take counsel together. When it says, and it shall come to naught, I could have sworn I wrote not as nothing.
Yep.
It comes to void, nothing. So even if you take counsel together, it's nothing's gonna happen to it. When it comes to nothing, nothing's gonna, it is what it is. It'll be a
Exactly.
void. It's pointless. Speak the word, and it shall not come, or it shall not stand, for God is with us.
Exactly.
So whatever you're gonna do, it's not gonna work because God is with us, in other words, in broad sense.
Exactly. Keep going with 11.
Mhm. For the Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people. God
Ah,
told,
who is
oh,
this people?
wouldn't this people be? Let me double. I guess. Oh, this. Well, no, 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 no. Because we're still on that conversation.
Well, no, no, this you can trace back. Who was Isaiah told not to walk as?
Wasn't he told not to walk as Damascus, not to walk as Samaria, not to walk as is
Yeah,
well
not to walk as the rest of the children of Israel, to walk in the ways
right.
of God. So when it says, for God is with us, is that talking about the children of Israel or is that talking about the invader?
That's more. So wouldn't that be more so for the invader? Since the invader's going to
Yeah,
come in and do this and do that, nothing's going to stop
exactly.
them. And because it's coming from God's word, God's letting it be known the invader's going to do whatever they want, win however they
And
want. And
remember, even the empire of Greece was spoken about by God. God was with them. He's the one who established it in his word that they would be taking over. So, what this is showing in comparison is literally saying one statement: no matter what you do, it will fail. No matter what you try, it's going to fail because this is God's will and God's will be done. Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
And then look at it during Jesus' time. Say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom the people shall say, a confederacy. Well, what's a confederacy?
Let me go to it. An unlawful alliance. Oh, Legion of Doom. People coming together for the wrong reason.
Yeah. What did the children of Israel try to do when they tried to kill Jesus? Who did they
They
try
they
to work with?
They tried to work with the centurions. They tried to work with the liars, the
Yeah,
lawyers, scribes, and all of that. Yeah, people that were trying to do things the wrong way to get Jesus in his position.
exactly.
Ah, the correlation back to him again.
Now you see how
Ah,
it's all correlating back.
yeah.
Literally, God is using, and it's so amazing how he does this, but he's literally using the same exact problematic situation that they're doing and they're dealing with to prove the point of what is going to happen to Christ.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I get the correlation now.
That's all I was trying to
Oh,
get. That's why it's so
that's
important.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right.
not only when we're going through Isaiah, we're getting prophecies, but we're getting correlations with prophecies as well. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's literally the whole entire circumstance that Jesus is going through is literally the same circumstance that they're talking about here. It's not just the fact of him being called God with us is prophesied. The whole scenario is exactly the same. All right.
But I got him.
Now then. And Thomas, do you understand how I got to that too? Do you get the context and how it shows it?
Yep.
All right. Now then, do you guys have any other comments or questions before we pray out the Bible study portion? Now would be the time to raise your hands. Now, I did tell you guys I would be getting here right around the time we finish. I just made it to Love's. All right, then, Thomas, go ahead, unmute and pray us out from the Bible study portion.
All right, if you guys can bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for another wonderful Bible study. This one was really interesting, not only to myself, but I'm sure to everybody else as well. Just the correlations in what Jesus Christ was going to be going through and went through as well. It's such a blessing just how well you work and how good you are with your words. We can't thank you enough for it. Excited to hear more about it tomorrow. And I pray the remainder of the day, our days go well, we get the rest needed and things of that nature in Jesus' name. Y'all pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Now on to the Bible listening portion. Tonight's Bible listening is from Exodus chapter 17 to chapter 29. Again, that's 17 to 29. Let me know when y'all got it.
Got it.
I got it.
All right. Now, last night's listening was Exodus chapter 4 to chapter 16. And we'll have Thomas go first, Charles will go second, and then I will finish this out.
Uh-huh. Find a good one. Going Exodus chapter 7, verse 5. And it reads, "And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt." Man, did he stretch forth his hand upon Egypt? He hit them with 10 different plagues, bro. That is crazy. 10 different plagues. And the last one where he took out the firstborn is where they finally realized. But they still came charging right afterwards through the sea. But it's crazy the extent that he had to go through. But it also makes sense though. They needed to understand who's the one and true God.
Yep.
And didn't God intentionally give the Pharaoh a hardened heart just to do these things so everybody in Egypt can understand? Like it's always bigger than the surface, man. It's always more than the surface.
Exactly.
So this really stood out to me. Go ahead, guys.
All right. Charles, got anything you want to add on that?
No.
All right. The only thing that I'll add on that is that he could have just killed him off. And he didn't just show his power by doing what he did. He also showed his patience. Because they were given a multitude of chances before they went through. It's like how people like to say the God of the Old Testament or God of the New Testament, as if the God of the Old Testament is more wrathful. No, it's the same. You just didn't pay attention to how merciful he is. All right. Now, Charles, go ahead with yours.
Go to my notes. Exodus one am I doing? Exodus 12, verses 3 to 5. This is, I'll bring up the point, the reason why. Before we even got into the rules of the sacrifices, before we got into when, because I remember when we talked about God using the sacrifices and, or the children of Israel having to do the sacrifices, that they had options. Even in this
Mhm.
point, before they go to the wilderness, before they even get all those other rules, in this particular context, God said if you didn't have enough lambs for your house, if your house was too small, that your neighbor would help provide the lambs. So how does that fare off when people say that, oh well, your God's not fair? I can keep going, I can go on and on about how fair our God is. I don't know what
Exactly.
you've been talking about. I don't know what you've been reading. I don't know what you've been, because I think about the times where my brother would say how you went through the Bible through and through, and the God that the Christian God isn't fair. Well, how'd you miss that if you went through it through and through?
Exactly. All right, good. Thomas, you got anything you want to add on that? All right.
No, my bad, guys.
Then the only thing that I would say on that is just, again, it proves the point. Like, when people are sitting here trying to pressure someone into doing more than they're capable of, God makes so much of a way. He's given so much ability to people. And even when you're incapable of getting a certain level, He makes a way for you to get it at a lesser level just to make sure it gets done. So now for mine. Mine was something that impacts historical and scientific evidence and how people try to debunk the Bible, but they don't actually read the Bible. Chapter 7, verse 20 to 25. This is when Moses had turned the water to blood, and the magicians did the same thing with their enchantments. And when they did, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. But that's not the part that stuck out to me. It was specifically in 25. And 7 days were fulfilled after that the Lord had smitten the river. Okay, here's the thing. If it was 7 days that the water was smitten, Thomas, then what does that mean about after the seventh day?
Say that one more time. It was 7 days that the water was smitten.
If the
Ask that
water
question
was
one more time.
smitten for 7 days, then what happens on day 8?
It was no longer smitten, right?
Yeah. Part of how people have tried to debunk the Bible is when it talks about the river of blood and they try to say the Red Sea, they try to connect the two and say, well, the Red Sea is not red because of blood, it's red because of algae and other stuff. The fact of the matter is, the blood was gone after 7 days. It was no longer red, it was no longer blood. It was only smitten for 7 days. That's why this stuck out to me. Yet another situation where people don't get the context of the Bible and then they add something. Red Sea, Sea of Reeds, it doesn't matter to me. Fact is, it was no longer having blood on the 8th day. It said it was smitten for 7 days. And notice how it said, and 7 days were fulfilled. That's how we know that. If it would have said, and it had been 7 days after he had smitten, we could have tied it to the frogs as just giving us a context of time frame. However, the fact of it pointing out that 7 days were fulfilled after that the Lord had smitten the river. So it made sure to complete the 7 days. So there was no river of blood after this. It was back to regular water. Make sense? And Thomas, do you got anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. They can't say nothing about that. Oh, it was just this, and that. Bro, algae don't just disappear after 7 days. It's
Yeah,
gonna still
exactly.
be there.
Exactly.
So
And Charles, you got anything you want to add on that?
I'm surprised they didn't say it evolved.
Right, evolution. Well, that's the part that's funny is because if you believe that it's red because of the blood, then the algae in the Red Sea does debunk the Bible. If you believe that it's still supposed to be red from the blood. That's why this matters so much. This is another instance of supposed Christians not getting context. And because they don't get context, they create an issue that didn't need to be an issue. You see what I'm saying, y'all?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
If we
yep.
just would have stuck with the context, you would have known that the blood is no longer blood. It's back to water. It was like that for 7 days. Then that wouldn't even be something you bring up. Now, if it's all back to water, would you have evidence of the blood? Probably not. So that's the whole point. It's so funny how so many of the problems for Christianity come from people not actually getting context who claim they're Christian. But that's it. Do you guys have anything you want to add or say before we close it out? All right, then I'll go ahead and close us out. Everybody have a good night.